Good morning, everyone. Uh, Give it a moment to see if anyone arrives today. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's still feeling good. We're going to get going with our next chapter of Esperanza Rising. Who do we have? Joey's here, Madison's here. Who's Nick? Is that someone from my class? Hey, Nugget. Anyway, nice to see everyone today. Oh, Nick from STEM, how are you? Nice of you to join my class today. Hope you're doing well. Anyhow, we're going to get started. We're going to read Los Aguacates, which is avocados today. Okay. It's nice to have a guest from another class in here today. So I'm going to read a little bit, then you have sort of a new idea to share that I'm going to let you know about. And we'll see how everything goes. Okay. Esperanza's breath made smoky vapors in front of her face as she waited for the new year. It already seemed old, with the same routines. She worked during the week. She helped Hortensia cook dinner in the late afternoons. In the evening, she helped Josefina with the babies and Isabel with her homework. She went to see Mama on Saturdays and Sundays. She huddled in the field near a smudge pot to keep warm and mentally counted the money she would need to bring Abuelita here. Every other week, with the small amount she saved, she bought a money order from the market and put it in her valise. She figured that if she kept working until Peaches, she would have enough for Abuelita's travel. Her problem then would be how to reach Abuelita. The men went down the rows first, pruning the thick grapevines and leaving a few long branches or canes on each trunk. She followed along with others and tied the canes on the taut wire that was stretched post to post. She ached from the cold and had to keep moving all day long to stay warm. That night, as she soaked her hands in warm water, she realized that she no longer recognized them as her own. "Cut," Hortensia cut a ripe avocado in half. "Of course," said Hortensia, removing the big pit and leaving a hole in the heart of the fruit. She scooped out the pulp, mashed it on a plate, and added some glycerine. You've seen me make this for your mother many times. We're lucky to have the avocados this time of year. Some friends of Josefina brought them from Los Angeles." Hortensia rubbed the avocado mixture into Esperanza's hands. "You must keep it on for 20 minutes or so, so your hands will soak up the oils." Esperanza looked at her hands covered in the greasy green lotion and remembered when Mama used to sit like this after a long day of gardening or after horseback rides with Papa through the dry mesquite grasslands. When she was a little girl, she had laughed at Mama's hands covered in what looked like guacamole, but she had loved for her to rinse them afterward. Esperanza would take Mama's hand and put the palms on her own face so she could feel their suppleness and breathe in the fresh smell. That would be a no-no in the coronavirus era. Hands on face. So let's see. How's everyone doing? We have anyone else new here? So we got Savannah, we got Madison, and Nugget. Nugget, is Mary with you? You said Mary said hola. Oh, you're on FaceTime. Okay, cool. Well, tell Mary I said hi. I really miss Mary because I didn't see her for several days before, we even started this break. Esperanza was surprised at the simple things she missed about Mama. She missed her way of walking into her room, graceful and regal. She missed watching her hands crocheting, her fingers moving nimbly, and most of all, she longed for the sound of Mama's strong and assured laughter. She put her hands under the faucet, rinsed off the avocado, and patted them dry. Felt better, but still looked red and weathered. She took another avocado, cut it in half, swung the knife into the pit, and pulled it from its flesh. She repeated Hortensia's recipe as she sat for the second time, with her hands smothered. She realized that it wouldn't matter how much avocado and glycerine she put on them, they would never look like the hands of a wealthy woman from El Jas because they were the hands of a poor campesina. It was the end of grape time when the Esperanza and Miguel in the hallway of the hospital before they could reach Mama's room. I asked the nurses to alert me when they saw you coming. I'm sorry to tell you that your mother has pneumonia. How can that be? Asked Esperanza, getting a phone call. How can that be? Said Esperanza, her hands beginning to shake as she stared at the doctor. I thought she was getting better. This disease, valley fever, makes the body tired and susceptible to other infections. We are treating her with medications. She is weak. I know this is hard for you, but we'd like to ask that she have no visitors for at least a month, maybe longer. We can't take a chance that she will contract another infection from any outside germs that might be brought to the hospital. Can I see her? Just for a few moments? The doctor hesitated, then nodded, and walked away. Esperanza hurried to Mama's bed, and Miguel followed. Esperanza couldn't imagine not seeing her for so many weeks. Mama, said Esperanza. Mama slowly opened her eyes. Mama slowly opened her eyes and gave Esperanza the smallest smile. She was thin and frail. Her hair was strewn and bedraggled, and her face was so white that it seemed to fade into the sheets as if she would sink into the bed and disappear forever. Mama looked like a ghost of herself. The doctor said, I can't come to visit. The doctor said I can't come to visit for a while. Mama nodded, her eyelids slowly falling back down, as if it had been a burden to keep them up. Esperanza felt Miguel's hand on her shoulder. Anza, we should go, he said. But Esperanza would not move. She wanted to do something for Mama, to help make her better. She noticed the brush and hairpins on the bedside table. She carefully rolled Mama on her side and gathered all of her hair together. She brushed it and plaited it into a long braid. Wrapping it around Mama's head, she gently pinned it into place. Then she calientes. Esperanza bent down close to Mama's ear. Don't worry, Mama. Remember, I will take care of everything. I am working. I can pay the bills. I love you. Mama said softly, I love you too. And as Esperanza turned to leave, she heard Mama whisper, no matter. How's everyone doing? When do your, I hear a story every day and love it. Next time, no pets. Oh, the bearded dragon jumped off your shoulder? Yeah, Savannah, I feel bad for Esperanza and Mama too. Okay. Anyone else new here? Okay. All right. You need to get away from the camp, Esperanza, said Hortensia as she handed her the grocery list and asked her to go to the market with me. It is the 1st of spring, and it's beautiful outside. I thought you and Josefina always looked forward to marketing on Saturday, said Esperanza. We do, but today we're helping Melina and Irene make enchiladas. Could you go for us? Esperanza knew they were trying to keep her occupied. She had been in the hospital for 3 months, and Esperanza hadn't been allowed to visit for several weeks. Since then, Esperanza hadn't been acting like herself. She went through the motions of living. She was polite enough, answering everyone's questions with the simplest answers, but she was tormented by Mama's absence. Papa, Abuelita, Mama, who would be next? She crawled into bed as early as possible each night, curled her body into a tight ball, and didn't move until morning. She knew Josefina and Hortensia were worried about her. She nodded to Hortensia, took the list, and went to find Miguel. Be sure, Miguel, to go to Mr. Yakota's market, Hortensia called after her. Hortensia had been right about the weather. The fog and grayness had gone. The valley air was crisp and clean from recent rains. They drove along fields of tall, feathery asparagus plants that would soon be packing. Citrus groves displayed their leftover fruit like decorations on Christmas trees. And even though it was still market, when there are other stores closer to Arvin, things we need, and he treats us like people. What do you mean? Esperanza, people here think that all Mexicans are alike. They think that we're all uneducated, dirty, poor, and unskilled. It doesn't occur to them that many have been trained in professions in Mexico. Esperanza looked down at her clothes. She wore a shirt-waist dress that used to be Mama's, and before that, someone else's. Over the dress was a man's sweater with several buttons missing, which was Mama had been right. It was more practical that way. Miguel, how could anyone look at me and think I was uneducated? He smiled at her joke. The fact remains, Esperanza, that you, for instance, have a better education than most people's children in this country, but no one's likely to recognize that or take the time to learn it. Americans see us as one big brown group for only manual labor. At this market, no one stares at us or treats us like outsiders or calls us dirty greasers. My father said that Mr. Yakota is a very smart businessman. He's getting rich on other people's bad manners. Miguel's explanation was familiar. Children all went to school together. White, Mexican, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino. It didn't seem to matter to anyone because they were all poor. Sometimes she felt as if she lived in a cocoon, protected from much of the indignation. Miguel pulled the truck into the parking lot at the market. I'll meet you. I'm going to talk about railroad jobs with those men gathered on the corner. Esperanza went inside. Mr. Yakota was from Tokyo, and the store had all sorts of Japanese cooking ingredients like seaweed and ginger and a fresh fish counter with fish that still had their heads. But there were Mexican products too, like mazarina for tamales, chiles for salsa, and big bags of dried beans for frijoles. There was even cow's intestine in the meat case for menudo and other specialties like chorizo and pig's feet. Esperanza's favorite part of the store was the ceiling that was crowded with a peculiar combination of Japanese paper lanterns and piñatas shaped like stars and donkeys. There was a small tissue donkey that Esperanza had not noticed before. It was like the one Mama had bought her a few years ago. Esperanza had thought it so cute that she had refused to break it, even though it had been filled with sweets. Instead, she had hung it in her room above her bed. A clerk walked by and impulsively she pointed to the miniature piñata. Por favor, she said, please. She bought the other things she needed, including another money order. That was one more benefit of Mr. Yakota's market. She could buy money orders there. She was waiting in the truck when Miguel came back. Another money order? What do you do with them all? Asked Miguel. I saved them in my valise. They are for such small amounts, but together they'll be enough to someday bring Abuelita here. And a piñata? It's not anyone's birthday. I bought it for Mama. I'm going to ask the nurses to put it near her bed so she'll know that I'm thinking of her. We can stop by the hospital on the way back. Will you cut a hole in the top for me so I can put the caramels inside? The nurses can eat them. He took out his pocket knife and made an opening in the piñata. While Miguel drove, Esperanza began feeding in the caramels. Not far down the main road, they approached an almond grove, the trees flush with gray-green leaves and white blossoms. Esperanza noticed a girl and a woman walking hand in hand, each with a grocery bag in her other arm. She couldn't help but think what a nice scene it made, with the two women framed against so many spring blossoms. Esperanza recognized one of them. I think that is Marta. Miguel stopped the truck and then slowly backed up. We should give her a ride. Esperanza reluctantly nodded, remembering the last time they'd given her a lift. Marta, mother, Ada, thanks for the ride. Marta's mother had the same short, curly black hair, but hers was sprinkled with gray. Miguel got out and put all the groceries in the truck bed so they could sit in the front. Ada said, I heard about your mother and I've been praying for her. Esperanza was surprised and touched. Thank you, I'm grateful. Are you coming to our camp? Said Miguel. No, said Marta. As you probably know, I'm not welcome there. We're going a mile or so up the road to the strikers' farm. We were tossed out of the migrant workers' camp and were told either to go back to work or leave. So we left. We aren't going to work under those disgusting conditions and for those pitiful wages. Ada was quiet and nodded while Marta talked about the strike. Esperanza felt a twinge of envy when she noticed that Marta never let go of her mother's hand. There are hundreds of us together at this farm, but thousands around the country and more people join our cause each day. You are new here, but in time you'll understand what we're trying to change. Turn left, she said, pointing to a dirt road rutted with tire marks. Miguel turned down the path bordered in cotton fields. Finally, they reached several acres of land, surrounded by chain link fencing and barbed wire, a single opening guarded by several men wearing armbands. Aquí, right here, said Ada. What are the guards for? Asked Esperanza. They're for protection, said Marta. The farmer who owns the land is sympathetic to us, but a lot of people don't like the strikers causing trouble. I was arrested. There was a long pipe that lay on top of the ground and a line of water spigots sticking up from it. Near each spigot were pots and pans and campfire rings, the makings of. In an irrigation ditch, women were washing clothes and children were bathing at the same time. Clotheslines ran everywhere. It was a great jumble of vanity and confusion over the county. We're going to shut down everything. The fields, the sheds. Oh, I'm sorry, I turned to the wrong page. I knew that didn't make sense. Clotheslines ran everywhere. It was a great jumble. Could not stop looking. She felt hypnotized by the squall. The Cavacino family, coming from the opposite direction, approached them. The children were dirty and skinny, and the mother held an infant who was crying. Do you have food so that I can feed my family? Said the father. We were thrown out of our camp because I was striking. My family's not eaten in 2 days. There are too many people coming into the valley each day who will work for pennies. Yesterday, I worked all day. Esperanza reached into the truck bed and opened the large bag of beans. Hand me your hat, senor. The man handed over his large sun hat, and she filled it with the dry beans, then gave it back to him. Gracias, he said. Esperanza looked at the two older children, their eyes watery and vacant. She lifted the piñata and held it out to them. They said nothing but hurried toward her, took it, and ran back to their family. Marta looked at her. Are you sure you aren't already on our side? Esperanza shook her head. They were hungry, that's all. Even if I believed in what you were doing, I must take care of my mother. Ada put her hand on Esperanza's arm and smiled. We all do what we have to do. Your mother would be proud of you. Miguel handed them their bags and they walked toward the farmer's field. Before they reached the gate, Marta suddenly turned and said, I shouldn't be telling you this, but the strikers are more organized than they appear. In a few weeks, during asparagus, things are going to happen all over the county. We're going to shut down everything. The fields, the sheds, the railroad. I've heard that there will be 10 times the people here looking for jobs in a few months from Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and other places too. And that they are poor people like us who need to feed their families too. If so many come and are willing to work for pennies, what will happen to us? But until then, with so many joining the strikes, I might be able to get a job at the railroad. Esperanza's mind. For her, it was a threat to her finances, Abuelita's arrival, and Mama's recuperation. Then there was the matter. Nugget's dog likes tortillas. Seems really laggy for Joey. Madison's device is laggy. Nick has 174. Nugget doesn't like their tortillas. They taste and smell like feet. And good question, Nick. Have you ever eaten? I wonder if, hey, Vinny's here. Nice to see you, Vinny. I wonder if Nick can tell us what kind of chickens have fingers. Something we talk about a lot. Renegade lottery. All right. Anyhow, we have a couple pages left. Esperanza studied her hands a few nights later. As she walked toward the cabin, everyone was crowded around a small table. There were fresh tortillas on a plate, and Hortensia was stirring a pan of machaca, scrambled eggs with shredded meat, onions, and peppers. It was Miguel's favorite, but they usually ate it for breakfast. What's the occasion? Asked Esperanza. I got a job in the machine shop at the railroad. Oh, Miguel, that's good news. So many railroad workers have joined the strikers. I know it might be temporary, but if I do a good job, maybe they'll keep me. That's right, said Alfonso. You do good work. They'll see it. They'll keep you. Esperanza sat down and listened to Miguel tell the others about the job, but she wasn't hearing his words. She was seeing his eyes, dancing like Papa's when he used to talk about the land. She watched Miguel's animated face, thinking that at last his dreams were coming true. And that's the end of today's chapter. So we're going to continue next week. We'll probably finish the book next week, but we're going to continue on Monday with Los Asparagos, which is asparagus. Okay. Breaded beef. Sometimes it's cooked with eggs. They were cooking it with peppers and onions. So we have a delivery at our house, so my dog's barking. Anyway, so there'll be no live stream for a couple days over the weekend. I'll jump back here Monday. But what I am going to do, and I'm going to put it out in Google Classroom later. I'm going to create like a Google form for any questions that you have. So if you want to ask questions about school, you can do that. If you want to ask questions about just anything general, you can dream like answers to those questions and talk about some of the ideas that people share with me. So I'm going to post that at some point either today or tomorrow in the Google Classroom, so look for that. Otherwise, I will see you Monday, hopefully. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. And I miss you all. All right. Goodbye.